Hello class, welcome to today's segment whereby we're going to be discussing common mistakes and errors encountered in the listening tests. Well, let's get right into it. Number 1, do not panic if you miss an answer. Proceed to the next one immediately. This will come in handy in the listening test. I know this is easier said than done, but please, once you've realized that you have not gotten the answer to a certain question, please do not panic. Swiftly move to the next question and anticipate the answer to the next question. Because once you panic in the listening test, the whole section is going to go into waste. Because the moment you panic, then answers are going to pass you by. Before you realize, they're in the next question. Before you gather yourself, they're in the next question. Before you gather yourself, the whole section is finished. And by then, maybe 7 questions have passed you by. Or 10 questions have passed you by. So once you realize that you've just missed the answer to a certain question, don't panic. This also comes hand in handy with the point that always have the two consecutive questions in mind, so that in case you miss the answer to the next question, the first question, then you're going to realize that the audio has already proceeded to the next question, and then you're going to be listening to hear the answer to the second question. Please do not panic and have at least two consecutive questions in mind, so that once you miss one, at least you'll get the other one, and so on. Yes. Do not lose concentration. Please be very keen throughout the whole exam audio. Sometimes they place answers far away from each other just to make you lose concentration and gaze off the exam. This literally happened to me in my main exam. The trick that is used in the listening exam is that, especially in the first section and the second questions, since the answers are far away from each other, you might easily lose concentration and gaze out of the exam room, or maybe start looking at your neighbors, or maybe start looking at your fingers. Immediately you lose concentration in the exam room, it's very easy for a whole section to go by. So once you realize maybe the answers have been spaced out, the audio goes on maybe for a minute, and then they start talking about the second question. The audio goes on for maybe a minute, even 2 minutes, and then they begin talking about the next question. Guys, don't get carried away by this. This is a trick to make you lose focus in the exam room. And once you lose focus in one section, that whole section might be done for you. You might get confused by similar answers. It is very important to note your keywords and context of your question. Guys, this is also another trick used by the examiner, whereby they place similar looking answers. So if you're not keen in listening to the question and reading and noting the keyword in your question, you're going to be easily confused. Let me give an example. So the question might be something like, we are flying to Nairobi next week. Oh no, we are flying to Nairobi. We are going to dash next week. We are going to dash next week. Dash is whereby you're supposed to fill in your answer. We are going to dash next week. And then on the audio, it's something like, we are flying to Zanzibar tomorrow and then to Nairobi next week. If you are not keen, you're going to think the answer to your question is Zanzibar and not Nairobi. Have you understood me? Another example. My husband is wearing a red shirt and my son is wearing a blue shirt. And then the question is saying something like, who wore a red shirt? Who wore a red shirt? If you're not keen to listening at the audio, you're going to think the son is the answer. Son is the answer, whereby husband is the answer. Have you understood me? They just use a small trick to confuse you, such that if you're not keen in listening to the audio, you're going to easily miss an answer. So once you've read a question, please underline the keyword. Is the keyword next week? Is the keyword husband? Is the keyword blue? Is the keyword red? Is the keyword Nairobi? Always in every question, note the keyword of that question, so that once the keyword is mentioned in the audio, then you're going to be anticipating the answer to that question. Okay. Be very aware of units in your answering. In addition, be very aware of capitalization and use of plural and singulars in your answering. We had already touched on this, especially on capitalization and use of singulars and plurals. This is whereby you should use the required capitalization in your answering. If it's a noun, begin with a capital letter. If it's a name of a person or a place, always begin with a capital letter. If an answer is in the middle of the sentence, use a small letter in your answer, small letters throughout in your answering. Normal rules of capitalization apply in your listening test. Not only in your listening test, all through your IELTS exam, normal rules of capitalization applies. Let's come to plurals and singulars. If an answer in the audio talks about books, do not place your answer as book. If the answer is pens, don't write your answer as pen. If your answer is women, don't place your answer as woman. Always write your answer just exactly how it's been stated in your audio. Let's come to units, the use of units. Don't leave out something like currencies, if it's pounds, if it is pounds, if it is dollars, if it's Kenya shillings, if it is kilograms, grams. If the answer in the audio has been stated with a unit, please always include that unit. For example, 100,000 Kenya shillings, 40 kilograms. Always include units in your answers. This case of units always comes in handy with this other point. Use correct word count. If the section specifies no more than one word, do not exceed one word in your answer. If your section specifies 3 words only use 3 words answers. Why did I say this comes in handy with our previous point? This is because sometimes candidates might confuse these 2 points, whereby the section has clearly stated do not use more than 1 word in your answers. But and then in the audio you had something like 100,000 pounds. So in this case, do you write 100,000 pounds or do you write 100,000? In this case, the number 1 rule is to follow the instructions of your section. So if your section said use only 1 word, you're going to write 100,000. You're not going to include the pounds. But if your section did not specify, or your section said do not use more than 2 words, then in this case, you're going to write 100,000 pounds. the instructions of that section usually come first. Yes, so do not just use units whereby your section specified do not use more than one word or more than 2 words. Yes. Your typing speed or writing speed should be quite fast to give you an upper advantage on reading incoming questions. Guys, I will stress this and I will stress this one more. Your typing stroke writing speed should be at your level best. This is because the speed of you writing your answers will always give you an edge in giving you more time to read the incoming question. This is especially very important in section 3 and section 4, whereby the answers are thinly spaced. The time between the answers are thinly spaced. So your typing speed should be very fast in order to ensure you've already written your answer, you've already read the next question, and you're anticipating to write the answer to the next question. You do not want a case whereby you are still writing the answer to the previous question. Meanwhile, the audio has already mentioned the answer to the next question. If there's anything we're going to practice more on, is typing speed. This is because you can be the best listener, but if you do not get time to write your answer, then who's going to know you're the best listener? No one, because you didn't even get time to write your answers. Yes. Wrong pronunciation. Beware of your spelling, especially where it's been spelled out. Well, the questions whereby the narrator spells out the answer, you should not even miss a single letter, because once you miss a single letter, that's all for you. That answer is going to be automatically wrong. So guys, be very keen in writing the correct, not pronunciation, the correct wording. The answer cannot be hair and then you write H-E-I-R and you're talking about hair. The answer cannot be book and you write B-A-K-E, bake. Nobody is going to know that you knew the right answer, but you just spelled it out wrongly. So spelling is very key. Yes. Some mistakes you're going to encounter as you carry out your own practice tests. So for each practice test, as I had said earlier, write down the mistake you have maybe done in a certain answer, write it down and ensure that you've not repeated that mistake in your next practice test. This is the only way you're going to get to improve. So each and every one of us has different mistakes, and it's up to us to focus on our own mistakes and rectify them. And in our live classes, we are going to compare and contrast mistakes of our fellow candidates, so that it can also help us note that these are mistakes that can happen and we are going to be able to correct them before the main examination. Okay guys, we've come to the end of this class and see you in my next class.